好，大家好，欢迎回到乐学成长空间，我是乐学。那么今天我们再一次回到了这个老板面对面的系列。今天我邀请到这位老板，这位嘉宾，他的公司，相信大家只要在马来西亚就一定有看过他的平台，因为今天的公司也就是 MyNews Holdings Berhad。除了旗下有 MyNews 这个超商品牌之外，也包括了韩国超商 CU， 还有在机场我们会看到的 WH Smith。那么今天我们将会聊两个重点，第一，到底今天这位嘉宾是如何把 MyNews 从0到1打造起来？第二，我们将会从一个投资的角度来看看这间上市公司有什么值得我们关注的事项。因为相信有些投资者应该有长期关注的话，都知道 MyNews 自疫情起来都已经出现了亏损，但是近期好像出现了一个转机，是否这个转机会延续下去呢？那么事不宜迟，我们就请今天的嘉宾，也就是 MyNews Holdings Berhad 的 Founder 兼 Chairman Luke 上来跟我们分享他和 MyNews 的故事。而今天这个访谈将会以英文的方式来进行。Without further ado, let's invite Luke to the channel. Luke, really appreciate your time having this interview session with me. Why not let's spend some quick few moments to talk about what is the business model of MyNews Holdings Berhad?
Sure. Thanks for having me, Alex. To begin with, MyNews Holdings Berhad is listed on the main board of Bursa, Malaysia. The group is predominantly involved in retail business, basically retail chain stores, mostly focused on convenience. So under the group, we operate MyNews retail chain store, Korea #1 convenience store, which is CU, WH Smith from UK, and Super Value Minimark. We also operate a coffee brand, Maru, that is currently sold within the convenience store. Besides that, we have two subsidiaries that are involved in ready-to-eat food production. One plant produces bakery, and the other one meals that we serve our retail stores to the consumers.
Got it.
So basically, our focus, our concept.
Sounds good. So it sounds like mainly this the business is still around like convenience store, and then but there's like carrying like different brand, but you guys are slowly branching into
Both around retail convenience, consumer products.
Got it. Okay. Yeah, that sounds good. We're gonna talk about more about like MyNews Holdings Berhad business and like some future outlook in a bit. But let's get to know you, Luke. You as a person. So I was looking at your background, and it seems like most of the time you have spent more than 10 years after your school in infotech. I'm just curious, what makes you wanted to start your own business back then?
Since very young, I had wanted to make a difference. So I come from a family of rubber tappers. When I say family of rubber tappers, they are all rubber tappers, or they were all rubber tappers. My parents were rubber tappers. My grandparents were rubber tappers. My uncles, aunties, they were all rubber tappers. In fact, the whole village were rubber tappers. Growing up in a rubber tappers family wasn't easy for the parents and also for the children. So, life was limited. Money was limited. So I had always wanted to make a difference, keep telling myself that, I have to break the chain of hardship. So since very young, that mindset, that thought of doing something different had always been with me. And those good old days, unlike today where there are so many businesses around, in the villages, those days, businesses that you are able to see or you were able to see were basically retail. So you see Kedai Runcit, all those retailers those are the ones that you thought have a lot of money, they have a lot of cash. My friends in retail business, or that who came from retail business families, they seem to have a lot of pocket money. But Robert Tepper's children appear to be poorer. So that thought of wanting a business of my own had always been with me since young.
Got it.
And then as I grew older, started my career, and when the opportunity to do a business struck, I took it on.
Got it. So before creating MyNews, this like convenient, well-known store brand, did you have any other venture prior to that?
I did invested in a very small way with my salary and some borrowed money into a couple of ventures, startups, but they all failed.
Got it.
Yeah, it didn't go far.
Yeah. Then maybe just curious about, since like I mentioned earlier, you spent like more than 10 years, your early careers in like information technology sector. What makes you decided to start a convenience store back then? Did you see any opportunity?
Okay, the story can be very interesting. When I was working full time in IT, I did try to write some programs, hoping to build application to sell. But in IT line, the working hours were very long, to a point where there wasn't night and day. You were just working away from morning until night. When you come home, basically it's time for bed. So that plan of developing some programs or application on the side to take me into IT related venture didn't materialize. I was too focused on my job. But your question on why convenience store?
Yep.
Okay. Like I mentioned earlier, the desire to be an entrepreneur has always been with me. So I was confronted with an opportunity, that I came across. There was a retail space in a shopping complex that was designated for just a newsstand. So basically, you cannot do any other business other than a newsstand. So that opportunity was in front of me. I had never planned that I would be a news agent. I wasn't even aware that this opportunity would come by. So when I was confronted with that, and I told myself, why not just do it? And by doing it, I would have a business of my own. But then to think of bigger plans or bigger business, I don't think I could afford it. I don't think I was able to do it. I had a very good job with big salary, but I have many commitments. I have family, I have siblings who were very young, who were still in school. So basically, the small business, it was about 100 to 200 square feet space of retail space. Just fits my desire, and I took on it.
Got it.
The rest is history. How I ended up with a convenience store is also by circumstances. So we started as a news agent. We did very well, to a point where we became a newsstand king. We were called a newsstand king. But then, not long after wearing the crown. Digital media was replacing print. So when change takes place, especially driven by technology, nothing could stop it.
Right.
So we began to transform. That transformation took us to become a convenience chain. So that's how we ended up with a convenience store.
Got it. So you start with newsstand, then eventually convenience store because of tech. Tech changed the environment. Then when you have your first convenience store, like you mentioned, you have you have a corporate, you have commitment, you have a pretty good salary. When did you decide to actually quit your job and full-time dedicate full-time commit into this convenience store business?
Actually, I quit my job and just switched within a couple of weeks.
Oh, wow. Is it a hard decision back then, or it's just like it happens?
It is kind of bold. I think to many it could have been a very hard decision. But then when I was young, I was like a small calf wandering in the wilderness, not knowing the danger out there. I could quit job from one country to another, just quit and go to another country without the fear of not getting back the same job. So that was me. But I had always been telling myself that one day I would want to end up in a business.
Got it. Then, talking about then, okay, now it sounds like because of your individual your kind of like characteristic lead to the decision. So what was the struggle at the beginning of like a convenience store? Like what was the struggle like having like MyNews at the beginning?
At the beginning, I inadvertently stepped into a newsstand business or news agent business that was very traditional and chaotic. It looked simple, but it was actually very chaotic. You may be too young, Alex, but during those days, for those who knows, newsstands were messy, cluttered, closed off. There was not even proper shelf to display newspapers or magazines. Things were hanging from the pole, tied with strings. So that was how the store was. We wanted to set up nicer store. We couldn't find the hardware. A lot of things we have to build our own. In fact, I can safely claim that we innovated the print media shelves, the magazine shelves, those beautiful ones that you see around the country later, was all created by us.
Oh.
But the worst part was the whole industry, the supply chain was very unprofessional, unsystematic. Things were just dumped on you without proper system. And then we have to come out to do things differently, set the standards, and then make others follow us. Initially, of course, there was no such a chance. You just have to follow, or you kill. Later on, when we became bigger, we say things have to be done that way. Along the way, we offended some people, those who have been in the industry for so many years longer, so many decades longer. So we managed to change things around. So there was a first struggle when the whole industry was traditional and unprofessional. So the second struggle was the transformation when print media started declining. So you have to transform to become convenience store. So imagine the store was set up for print media. Shelves were different, there was no plug points, there was no water, there was no space for this and that. It was basically for newspapers. So that transformation process was very painful. You now have to convert that space to become convenience store, big, small, that comes in whatever shape, whatever infrastructure. So that was another big struggle.
Got it. So it seems like you mentioned like the industry when you first like when we are still a small player, the industry was messy. There's like not really like a proper way of like the supply chain. Is it because this reason that being a small player, you can't really dictate the change? That kind of led to your vision on growing the store count, or what actually back then makes you want to grow your store count as fast as possible, making it to become a store like a well-known chain?
I think when we step into it, we just want to make it better.
Mm-hmm.
We continually see things like this could be done this way, this could be done this way, this could be done this way. So we push along. For example, magazines, newspapers were without barcodes. That limits your ability to expand. So you began to impose changes like this. I want barcodes, but the publishers refuse to print it for you. Why you're asking this?
Mm-hmm.
We have been around for 30 years. Nobody asked for that. So we started printing our own barcode on a sticker to start sticking, things like this. And we demanded proper invoicing. We demanded this and that. So things get changed. But most important thing is we ourselves must set a better standard. We must show the others that this is the way it is done. This is a better way. And then that will open their eyes.
I see. Got it. That makes sense. Like setting better standard. And then yeah, just curious, like what do you consider as like the pivot point for MyNews? Like any significant event that you would share?
The journey has been so long, over
Right.
2 decades. And we started from scratch, ground zero, nothing. 200 square feet space. So I cannot, or I'm not able to nail down to any specific pivot points. I can say that it is through hard work, passion, and perseverance throughout the journey. But what was important, or what is still important today, is being innovative. Without being able to nail down to any pivot, one single pivot point, but the one single factor that carry us on until today is innovation. So you keep changing, you keep improving. I was mentioning about the transformation to be convenience store from print media. So with change and innovation,
Mm-hmm.
we were able to overcome all the brutal facts of reality, like competitions, technological changes, whatever that we confront, you improve, you change, and also you are able to grow. So that's what takes us this far.
Got
There
it.
was no one single incident where some charitable people come along, or some venture, or some bank came along and said, there you go, this is 50 million ringgit for you to change, to expand.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, who want to invest in a print media company, right? I mean, in a news agent.
Right. Understood. But from a like growing standpoint, what actually allowed you guys to grow so fast? I mean, like convenience store business, like they're like mom and pop shop, but what makes you guys different? I mean, you talk about the setting the better standard, the innovation part, but is there any other thing that actually led to the high growth that in store count?
I would like to qualify that the number of stores is not that many. I mean, now it's 600 plus, but we've been around for quite a while. Pandemic has actually stunted our growth. I think you need system, you need the process, you need to show the landlords that you can do better, you can do nice stores, you can operate well, you are honest, you pay rent promptly, you are sincere, you are there to stay, you are permanently there to work very hard to grow the business. It is more or less like any other business.
Mm-hmm.
What are the factors that allows people to grow? You have to set all those parameters correctly, then you go from there.
I see. Got it.
Control is another factor. Don't touch a retail business if you can't control it.
Can you elaborate more on the control part? Like what do you refer by the control?
Pilferages, theft,
I see.
both internally and externally, even from all the way from supply chain down to customers.
I see. Then growing a store, because back then I believe that because like you mentioned, pandemic kind of like slow you guys down, but that definitely there will be before that there'll be a period of high growth. How do you convince people about the capital? Because renovating a store, renting a store is not that's require a lot of capital. Like how do you actually convince people to, or like bank to borrow money, or how do you generate the fund?
Before we went IPO in the year 2016, we survived mainly on internally generated fund. We don't have borrowings. We do have borrowings, but all the borrowings are related to property purchase and vehicles, like financing for our trucks, fleet of trucks, delivery for our warehouse, for our offices. So those are the kind of loan that we have. But beyond that, we didn't have. After IPO, of course, as a public listed company, you have all kinds of opportunities to tap the capital markets. And the fundraise from the IPO allow us to expand, and also went into constructing our own food processing center. That was post IPO.
Got it. Since you talk about a food processing center, maybe can you explain to the audience why do you guys want to have your own food processing center back then? Like, what synergy do you see?
If you can recollect, convenience store in Malaysia used to be very boring, very unattractive.
Right.
It was at least 5-10 years behind even our neighbors like Thailand. And then if you go further to Hong Kong, Taiwan, Japan, we were way behind. One of the trends, or one of the category that was popular in countries like Japan, Taiwan, were fresh food. So if you were to, this is a personal experience, if you were to travel with fellow Malaysians, for example, to Japan, the first thing they walk into even before they check into a hotel room was to go to a convenience store to load the room with food and drinks and all those. You see a lot of coffee machines facing you. And if you were with a Malaysian, they could be holding the food and swearing at a convenience store in Malaysia. How come we don't get this in Malaysia? Why Malaysian convenience store are so useless? They don't have this, they don't have that. So those were the facts. we were very boring. We didn't have much other than the standard beverages and snacks and chips. So we were aware of that. We saw the trend. We knew we had to do it. Even as a first mover, we had to do it. Otherwise, we'll just continue to fall behind. So that takes us to the desire or the plan to have just to think of selling fresh food at our store. But then at that time, 2017, there was lack of such facility in the country, such production plants. Now there may be either operated by convenience store players themselves, or there could be one or two out there that serve the airlines. But producing of fresh food for convenience chain is very different for restaurants and catering, because it is a mass production. It is for fast consumption trend. So every unit of food that you produce, you have to spread them over a few hundred stores. And then you have to produce 50, 60, 70 types to spread it over. So it is different, unlike catering for a function. Plus the quality. When you roll out such kind of food to all the stores nationwide, everywhere, you have to maintain that quality, the hygiene, the taste, everything. Not just selling food like you're by the roadside or in a kopitiam. You cannot afford cases of food poisoning. You cannot afford anything like this. Make sure that it is like quality, hygienic, and then halal, everything. It is very, very important. How do we begin? Even by looking around for technical expertise to begin construction was kind of difficult, So we look towards Japan. They are the leaders in convenience store. They are leader in this segment of the business. And we brought in two players. They are renowned players. Our bakery partner, Royal Baking, has been around for 70 years. Wow. They are the largest in Fukuoka, Kyushu, one of the top few players in the whole of Japan. And then the meal side, Kinea, we brought them in because they operate more than 400 restaurants in Japan, and they cater to over 40 international airlines. Oh. So these are the best people that we can find. And then we jointly construct the plant in Malaysia and started the production. That's how it started, and then we are so proud that today, if you pick up our meals or a bakery bun, you cannot say that it is different from Tokyo, instead of Tokyo, because it's produced by the same
Japanese line. Okay.
We managed to bring that up. We managed to supply to our own store to serve the consumers, and all in all, the whole convenience market has been elevated.
Got it. Yeah, I mean, it kind of like tie back to your earlier sharing about when you were like trying to set a better standard. It seems like from the FP, this food processing center also can see like how MyNews is trying to set a better standard in like the quality of the food. But talking about financials, like we can see that right now the FPC is like kind of like contributing 8% of the total group revenue, and it seems like it's still unprofitable. Is there any reason why led to that, or is there any like target that you can share with us?
Okay, to begin with, any new business,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's a food processing center or CU or whatever, requires a period of gestation. So that period is given. You have to prepare for it. Our our problem was it was rather unfortunate that we launched. So we signed the agreement in 2017.
Mm-hmm.
After more than a year and a half to 2 years of construction, it is a state-of-the-art, large-scale manufacturing facility of 130,000 square feet. And then it took us more than a year and a half. So at the point when we launched it, it was towards the third quarter of 2019. So we were all excited. Production begins. We started to roll out food first, gradually, and then we speed up. But unfortunately, barely 3-4 months after we launched it, pandemic hit Malaysia. Officially, Malaysia declared COVID-19 pandemic in January 2020. Mm-hmm. So can you imagine the situation when you had just started rolling out a nice, beautiful plant, so hyped up with a whole fleet of trucks sending food around the country, and then suddenly there was MCO lockdown. People cannot even leave the home to buy anything. We had to even shut down the plant. So that brought us down to our knees. Like basically, the FPC went into deep problem. So that was 2020. And then 2021 was not much better. We have change of 4 prime ministers, we have change of governments. Policies kept changing. We were adjusting to the situation. We could be producing food today. Suddenly, at 12 midnight, some ministers say, "Oh, tomorrow this place is shut. The place is shut. Place is shut." The food couldn't even go out. So, if you all remember, that was the situation then. Mm-hmm. So that set back the performance of the FPC. Today, we are at the break-even point. So it's no longer a concern. It has served us very well. I can't imagine with that kind of competition out there, if we do not have a food processing center, I seriously do not know how we can be one of the leading players that serve the market so well. You mentioned correctly about 8%. I will come to the specific later. Mm-hmm. The uptake continues to grow. So again, it is a journey. Mm-hmm. When we first started producing our sandwiches, for example, I can simply say that the sandwiches is the best around. We were even asking ourselves, do many Malaysians eat sandwiches, which is cold? They prefer anything that has to be heated up and warm. Mm-hmm. And that was the situation then. Look at today. People pick up sandwiches, people pick up buns, put it inside their bag, take it to the office, throw it into the children's school bag, and say, "This is your lunch." So culture is changing. Yes, we pay the price as a first mover to produce so much, to roll out, but habits are changing. People are trusting convenience store food more and more, mm-hmm. Understanding the quality, understanding the taste, and also the lifestyle is changing. And because of urbanization, people are running short of time. These are grab and go, good healthy food produced by the most hygienic facility in the country. So that change of habits is growing fast, and we can see the increase in the uptake of our ready-to-eat food.
Got it.
At our stores.
Yeah. Then just curious, like if you can share, what about competition about the FPC? Like, because it sounds like you guys are, like you mentioned, is at break-even point. Do MyNews Holdings Berhad consider to use your additional capacity for other company, or what is the plan there to reach the 100%?
We do supply to a limited number of customers, basically Japanese customers. Japanese trust their own quality. So right. Our plants are operated by the Japanese. So we do have Japanese business who get from us. But predominantly, we are very focused on serving our own outlets, MyNews, CU, and WH Smith. So we are comfortable with the capacity at this point in time. Our future growth, future increase in sales will continue to increase our capacity. So I mentioned about through the pandemic, where there was a period where we even shut down the plant. So post-pandemic, when the business recovered, do you remember there was a major shortage of workers in the country? Many plants were shut. Palm oil or oil palm trees were left unharvested. We went through the same as well, even though business had recovered, but half of our lines were not operating because there was a huge shortage of labor. But now that situation has been addressed. So CU being a food-centric outlet is selling a lot of fresh food, like maybe above 50%. So now we focus on MyNews because when we had a labor shortage, we focused on CU and MyNews was deprived. So MyNews didn't get enough supply. So now our focus is switched to basically ramping out more food and buns at MyNews as well. So at this point, the percentage in MyNews is still low. So we can continue to produce more and push to more MyNews outlets.
Got it. That makes sense. Then since you mentioned about CU, just curious, why CU back in 2021? What makes the decision to bring in a Korean convenience store brand?
That is a very good question. CU is a food-centric concept. That means when you walk into CU, you see food, a lot of food. You expect to find food from K-sausage to sandwich to tteokbokki to all this. So we knew that it will help in increasing the production capacity of FPC, which was suffering at that time through the pandemic. That was one of the big factors. And then K-culture, it was so popular. Everybody was talking about K-culture. That's why we brought in the CU, the #1 convenience store in Korea. They are very popular there, having 18,000 stores. We brought them over, and then obviously it is an international brand, a famous Korean brand, and we would like to have one with us to face more and more intense competition, so that we can be very versatile as having different concepts to place.
Then does CU from fast forward to now, does it meet the management expectation in terms of the performance or revenue in general?
That is a very common question. Because people expect CU to be profitable now, which is not. all the other brands are profitable except CU. So again, similar explanation to the FPC.
Mm-hmm.
The gestation period was expected. So we expected it to be about between 2 to 3 years. But it has taken longer than 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
So along that side, it has actually affected our performance. But then we brought it in the middle of pandemic.
Yep.
So it was not a normal situation, not a normal times. So that was one of the factors that caused the gestation to drag longer. We did learn and saw some weaknesses internally and also from the Korean side. We were all learning and we have addressed them. Now we are improving quarter to quarter, day by day. So hopefully we are able to quickly get over the gestation and then be profitable thereafter.
Got it. Then just curious, because like you mentioned about the weaknesses, would you be able to share like what was like the struggle or like the challenges was facing for CU?
Okay, initially perhaps we view it along the simple or more simplistic manner,
Mm-hmm.
Because we have been doing this business for 20 over years. So store construction and all those seem very easy for us. But then it is a new brand, new in the country, different concept, selling a lot more food, and that requires different handling. There are many differences. So perhaps during the first year, one of the mistakes was to grow too many stores. So we basically planted like 120 stores during the first year. We took it like MyNews. We can do 100 MyNews stores, we do 100. So that was perhaps too aggressive. And, with such a high cost of new stores, depreciation,
Mm-hmm.
everything just plow in.
Got it. Then yeah, talking about now, because like I was like looking one of like the news article, it mentioned that you guys are planning to have 100 new stores in 2024. So talking about like the weaknesses that you mentioned about like fast growing in CU back then 2021, why do you think now is a good time in expanding like such aggressive?
So it is different now. So it will not be 120 or 100 stores of CU. So it's a mix.
Okay.
So in that mix, there'll be more MyNews than CU. So when I say we have learned, this is one of the things that we have learned.
I see.
So we have different brands like Super Value is the minimum. CU is a food-centric CVS. MyNews can be anywhere, carrying 2,000 to 3,000 SKUs that serve the consumers very well, easily located. And WH Smith is just focused on it at the airport.
Mm-hmm.
So with this dynamism and facility, when we get a location, we know what brand to place. So it will be such, And obviously, like I say, our growth was stunted through the pandemic. So now we want to be on track with our growth, and we think we are comfortable.
Okay, yeah. Then just curious, like from a revenue perspective, do you expect? Would you be able to give any guidance in terms of like what this new stores is gonna bring in terms of like a percentage growth in revenue or profit per se?
Our existing revenue is about 700 over per annum, over a million per annum. So we expect with that store growth to increase our revenue to more than 800 million.
Okay, more than, okay, got it.
Our target or projection.
Okay, thanks for sharing that. And then talking about, since you are opening new store, one of my kind of like question, because like sometimes like in the Taman, I can see like there are like multiple convenience store, or even like just one shop a lot, there's like 3 convenience store. Do you think the market is saturated, or would you be able to share from your knowledge or like your market expertise, why does this 100 store make sense? Like, or is it necessary to always have like a few store in a Taman or like even like a shop lot? What is the opportunity there?
If you talk about saturation, obviously the market appears to be more saturated than before. New players coming in, new entrants, and then people, the players are trying to grow fast. The one that has a store number want to increase their footprints, instead of falling behind, and then some growing ones, they want more stores, perhaps to go for IPO. That business is business. If you are doing well, you want to grow. But I think there are still room to grow. If you are updated, experienced, and dynamic, there are still opportunities out there. It may be difficult for new entrants. I don't know. But you see, again, if I bring you back to 5-10 years ago, or earlier, convenience stores seems to be very mundane and boring, very standard. Shop lot. Some even refuse to go into the shopping malls. But nowadays, you have convenience stores that take into everywhere. Hospitals, colleges, residential, you name it.
Right.
Very versatile. It's very versatile. So for those who are versatile, who are able to configure themselves to fit into in small locations, customize their products, there are still room to grow.
Makes sense. Then you mentioned a good point, like because of the innovation, like keep improving, making it not so boring. Do you foresee that mom and pop shop, like just like a one man owned like convenience store, eventually in Malaysia is gonna be kind of like non-existent in the future? Or what can you give like a prediction about the market in general for convenience store?
So it will go like this. It's not anything new. It has happened to all the other countries. One of the factors is the mom and pop shop, they will grow tired. Their children do not want to take over. They grow old. They just close. They don't have a system. They don't have a process. They don't have a competitive edge with innovation. Like we talk about fresh food, where do they get from? Are you going to just sell nasi lemak every day? So things like this, they will be overtaken by time. Okay, that's how the world is, and then eventually the void that they leave behind will be overtaken by the branded ones, the brand stores.
Got it. Makes sense. Yeah. Then, from like a numbers perspective, because we know that since the pandemic happened, MyNews was like making losses, and then but in the latest quarter, it seems like you guys are starting to be profitable. Just wondering, from a management perspective, do you think the worst has been over, and can you provide any like short-term or long-term outlook to the investor?
Okay, I have to be very careful with forward.
Yeah, for sure.
Because we are listed. If you compare quarter to quarter, they may be up and down because every quarter is so short, 3 months, and it's driven by seasonal events. So, for example, Christmas, New Year, the sales is always better. There will be a bit down during fasting month, situation like this. But then if you look annually, I think our worst is over. You mentioned about our final quarter 2023 that we turned green. We hope to sustain that. Yeah. So, barring any unforeseen circumstances.
Understood. Yeah. So yeah, it seems like our time has been come towards the end, but I still have one question that I'm kind of like interested to know is during the 3 years like pandemic, like COVID time, you mentioned that you guys launched the FPC and then you guys launched CU. What was the pressure? Can you share like what was the pressure that you or the management were facing when making losses for consecutively like 3 years? What do you guys do to improve the situation back then, or like what did you do?
The pressure and how do we handle it?
Yeah, how do you handle the pressure?
I think the pressure was tremendous, like for anyone else, because we were put in a situation where no one has gone through this situation before. Not the government, not the people, not the businesses, and no one was prepared for it. Everybody was looking at China, or China got people dying, watching the YouTube, but when it hit Malaysia, there was basically no preparation. So you were put in that kind of situation of total lost. So you have to do what you have to do. I think that the attitude of entrepreneur, the attitude of management was immediately, how do I put it? You have that default or built-in attitude of management and entrepreneur that you immediately put into action and just do your best by coming down the employees, by quickly realign, adjust, and just manage it to your best hour to hour. A lot of things just changed by the minute and driven by the changing policies of the government. So you're expecting what's next. Now we're allowed to open, tomorrow not. And then after that, the window of opening is shortened. And after that, certain roads will shut. The trucks cannot go out. And then eventually you're allowed to produce, but your supplier cannot come to you. They cannot deliver the supply to you. So it is very, it was very chaotic. I think that was how I would put it. But I think what you have acquired, what you have learned, that was already in you. You as not in me alone, but in the whole management, the discipline, the way you handle problems, and all those that come into play at that point in time. So that attitude is very important, because I think when we were faced with a crisis, with a situation, if you try to if you want to find an immediate last-minute solution, it can be very difficult and it can never be right. So what you have acquired all these years is now becoming very useful. And then the way you do business, the way you treat others will all be a major factor in how you survive. How your suppliers is able to continue their delivery to you without payment, because everybody was in financial difficulty.
Mm.
How the bank can come forward and to help you, how your employees still stick to you, how your customers still return to your store because they find things very clean, well arranged. The fear of pandemic, the fear of virus was always there. So these were the things that you just cannot do it within hours. So your usual practice, your usual attitude, the way your credibility, the way you conduct yourself, your business, everything will become the major factors that will help you during crisis.
Understood. Yeah,
Yes.
this is a good sharing. Yeah, it sounds like kind of like tie back to what you said earlier, like the system and process that you have set, and then the experience you have will be a strong foundation. Although like even like during like crisis time, there is a system and a process in place.
Maybe I can share with you an example that it seems like it was God given. So the FPC was launched in 2019, right before pandemic. So you know the Japanese standard. The whole plant was already, everyone must wear PPE in the production plant. Sanitizers were everywhere. And then at the shops, there was a requirement that we must have detergent sanitizer that hang on the wall. Hang on the wall. All the staff who were handling food must wear gloves and mask. So that was set. So when pandemic came, that was already there.
That's the standard.
So you did not have to do anything more at the storefront and even at the plants. Everybody was already wearing PPE, and we have a good stock of PPE and gloves all over the place. So what we had to do was to put that bottle of sanitizer for the customer to use as well. One for the staff, one to use. So it was like given.
Yeah.
So things like this that I say, beyond just trying to address the situation at the time.
I see. Yeah, this is good. This is good sharing. Yeah. Then any last thing you want to share to a current investor or even potential investor?
I'm not good in investment. I'm an entrepreneur, doing my best to drive MyNews, grow MyNews for the interest of the investors and stakeholders. I just hope investors could be more patient.
Understood.
Be more patient. Sometimes we say people easily forget. Pandemic was such a tough time. Going through pandemic, immediate turnaround is not that easy. What is most important is you must be able to see a genuine business, focus and hard at work in continual improvement. But entrepreneurs are different. Entrepreneurs, you just have to stay motivated, have the passion and perseverance, keep going and going and going, even when the going gets tough. Without that kind of greed or perseverance, we are hit with downside like pandemic, it will be wiped out. So stay motivated, stay passionate, and persevere. That's what it takes.
Okay. Thanks for this sharing. I mean, personally, I learned a lot, like from an entrepreneur side, even like from learning MyNews' current situation. But once again, I really appreciate your time having like this almost an hour session with me. And I hope maybe in the future, if there's any update, we can definitely invite you back. But once again, thank you. And then we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
That's my opinion.